Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our family leisure studio. Darian Newsom with us producing, Landon with us as well. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours and a ton to get into today. A busy weekend in the sports world. We had all the college football action, all the NFL action. Tiger football gets a big win over UAB. Tiger basketball gets a big win over Ohio to start the season. 3-0. Grizzlies split a pair of games over the weekend, so a ton to get into over these next 3 hours. But Brett, how are you today?
Brian, I'm doing great, and it was a fantastic Tiger weekend. I was at FedEx Forum Friday night, and it was a lot of fun. And I'll be the first to say, or admit, I think the Tigers are a little, maybe to a lot better than I thought they would be.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, I think we all had 4-0 before Hawaii, didn't we, in preseason W's and L's?
All but me.
Oh, really? Who'd you have the loss to?
I lost his last two games, UNLV and Ohio. And
Ouch.
Yeah, because I said last week.
Why do you hate the Tigers, Brian?
I don't hate the Tigers. I didn't love the
don't.
roster construction. I didn't love what I saw in the exhibition.
And nobody does when we pick against them.
Yeah, and but I mean, I said it last week that if we, if I had gotten a mulligan after our W's and L's, I would have changed Ohio to a win. I would have left UNLV as a loss. I still think that's a great win for the Tigers.
I do too.
Ohio has not looked as good as I thought they would be.
Here's my mulligan. I got 1 and 2 next week in Maui. Boy, you take 2 and 1. Well, if you're 3-0, you won the darn tournament.
Sure,
Need no explanation. If you're 2 and 1 and lose in the finals, you do handstands, don't you?
100%.
If you're 2 and 1 in third place, you're almost that, aren't you, with that field?
Definitely. I think any way 2 and 1 comes, you're
I agree. I think I would. I want to look at the bracket a little closer as we get to it next Monday. And Bryant, starting tomorrow, we have daytime. Afternoon college basketball through Sunday, December 1st.
Yeah. I first off, I want to say this. I love it. I can't wait. But I do want to say this. I think it's Thursday. I'm trying to pull it up real fast. Thursday morning, 10 a.m.
Really gets rolling. Thursday's really crazy.
Thursday's great.
Tomorrow's more afternoon,
Sure.
Early afternoon, matinee.
But Thursday at 10 a.m., James Madison and UIC play. Now, look. Most people are going to say, I'll pass on that game. I don't care about watching that game. It's on Baller TV. I mean, what are we doing when we have a game on Baller TV? There was a
We're big ballers.
I guess so. Baller TV is for the big ballers because it's very expensive to get onto Baller TV. There was an invitational tournament type thing last week that was very small, and I tried to go watch one of the games last week because it was like Thursday or Friday, kind of an early game, and I log on to watch it, and it's like $30 to watch the tournament. I'm like, I'm not paying $30 to watch Tennessee Tech play basketball.
We're not that big a baller.
No, so I would really rather these. I love these events. I want to watch them, but Boardwalk Battle being on Baller TV, sorry, I'm not going to be able to watch it.
Yeah, but it'll settle into kind of regular, normal TV.
Oh, yeah.
No TV's free TV.
It's true, yes.
I mean, none.
It's true.
I mean, they're bringing my DirecTV bill in on forklift.
Yeah, but with all the subscriptions I already have, I cannot add Baller TV to that group.
But we're into a really fun time of year. So this weekend, one more thing about Tiger basketball. P.J. Haggerty, really, really good. Tiger backcourt has got a chance to be formidable.
Oh, yeah, no, they're really good. I mean, what him and Hunter did Friday night against Ohio, both looked really good. We were talking to
I want to see some big development.
Yeah.
But that's with I think that's with a lot of teams out there.
For sure. But, I mean, we were talking to Jason on Friday, and, he said that both those guys, Haggerty and Hunter, both, were dealing with kind of nagging injuries throughout the week. We're not really 100%. I think both of them had missed at least one practice throughout the week. And for them to both come out and play like they did against Ohio, both knocked down 4 threes. So, I mean, I thought a really good game for both of those guys.
Fun weekend for the Tigers. Get the basketball win Friday night, get the football win Saturday night, and now football off next week. Tulane off as well, building to the end of the year. And that one was going to be really special. It still really matters, though, the chance to get to back-to-back double-digit win seasons. exist on that night, and then you get another shot at the bowl game. If you don't get a shot at the bowl game, if you win Thanksgiving night to get to 11 wins. This was the weekend. Good friend of mine, Friday night, the Tiger game, we're riding home, and he said, now, tomorrow really starts to clarify things in college football. I said, well, it'll help. It's about as clear as mud from after the weekend.
Yeah, then that's kind of the thing. That's how this season has been. It feels like, every week you go, okay, well, this game might decide something. This game will help clear something up, and it never does. We
just moved pieces, didn't we?
That's the best. That's how you describe it, is it's just pieces being moved because – we really don't know what it looks like.
Couldn't you today, with a straight face, if you had to, couldn't you make a case for all the 2-loss SEC teams?
Yes, easily.
And then you come back to this with the best win and the worst loss for all of them. You can kind of make that case. We're going to visit with Michael Bratton, who does the SEC podcast, very popular podcast, and you see him often on the Paul Feinbaum show. And this one's hard. In a fair world, I could say you just can't lose at home to a bad Kentucky.
Yeah.
And now the LSU loss is not looking very sporty for Ole Miss. For Tennessee, you can't lose at a not very good Arkansas.
Right. Yeah.
But then their other loss was to Georgia, but Ole Miss beat them. Mm-hmm. Alabama beat Georgia. It is just kind of in a circle of argument, and the easiest thing in the world, the best thing in the world for the SEC, Army or USC, beat Notre Dame, and everybody gets in.
That's right. If Notre Dame takes the loss, then that changes everything. But, I think you just mentioned it. You could make a case for all the 2-loss teams in the SEC. And then on the flip side of that, and you did it last week, and I think you could do it even more now after another weekend of football's played, you could make an argument for every 2-loss SEC team to not be in there. Obviously
you sure
they're going to be in there,
could.
but you could make a case for all of those teams as why this team, and we did it. You did it last Wednesday of why X team should not be in the college football playoffs.
That Sunday morning, if Ole Miss completes being 10-2, and that's not simple, easy, having to go to Florida and having to face your biggest rival, and I'll get to that about some of these rival games in a second. But if they finish 10-2, and on that Sunday morning after the SEC championship weekend, they're not on that bracket, as heartbroken as I've ever been about sports in my life will happen. But I know you can't lose at home to Kentucky.
Yeah, you can point out why it didn't happen, and there are times where something doesn't happen, you go, how did that not happen? But in a case for a lot of these teams that are going to miss out on the playoffs, you can look at that schedule and point out exactly that's why we're not in the playoffs.
But Brian, really starting now with kind of more in spoiler role, there's not a lot of big rival games. There's some, but I don't think they impact the college football playoff, like USC and UCLA's this week. It's a big rival game, but that has no impact on the playoff picture. Most of the games coming up for this playing weekend is spoiler role. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma could really rim wreck Alabama. What Auburn could do to A&M, what Florida could do to Ole Miss. But then you get into rivalry weekend. And if little kid word, if Ole Miss beats Florida, I promise you, on Ole Miss pregame, I'm going to say this, and I mean it. The biggest Egg Bowl ever. The biggest one ever. Never mind that year they both were in the top 7 or 8 or 9 and a lot of fun. Well, two years, 2014 and 2015. Dak's last 2 years at State. Never mind those years. It will be the biggest Egg Bowl, just like it potentially, and I think will be, the biggest Tennessee Vandy game ever. The biggest Old Oaken Bucket game ever. The biggest, yes, I'm going to say it, the biggest Iron Bowl ever. And I'm going to say it for Georgia and Georgia Tech, clean old-fashioned hate, biggest ever. Because the team that looks like they're sailing into the playoffs, well, if they win, they go to the inaugural college football playoff. You do something for the first time in any of those football histories, that's big. In Alabama, at a place it's hard to do something for the first time, they can go to the college football playoff for the first time. At Ole Miss, you talking about just feeling just sky high to be in that first college football playoff. But then you think about the rival team. We got to deny you going and making history. You don't think Georgia Tech would just you tear down everything.
Oh, absolutely.
At Mississippi State, they go back to Starkville and tear down their goalpost.
Their own goalpost. I love it.
Indiana lose this week to Ohio State, and then for Old Oak and Bucket in Bloomington, Purdue pulls that upset.
Holy cow.
That's the biggest Bucket win ever.
I think easily.
I think on some of these trophies, you put an asterisk, you put a star by it. Not asterisk, but a star.
I love it.
For
more.
ruining, absolutely derailing. It would be the most crushing egg, iron, clean old-fashioned ever.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I think, we know how rivalry games get. You never know what to expect. Sometimes when it's, hey, this team's going to easily win, at the end of the day, it's a rivalry game, and both those teams are going to be ready to go. And
come out, play a little tight.
Exactly.
And first quarter, 0-0 after the first quarter. And you draw first blood in any of these games. Any of these games, this is a scenario. You draw first blood, 7-zip, and then you get a scoop and score, and it's 14-zip. And then you really get tight.
Well, I mean, and in some of these games, especially this year, when you're talking about kind of the chance to ruin that great season, I mean, you can look at several of these games. Purdue against Indiana, Auburn against Alabama, Mississippi State against Ole Miss. Purdue, Auburn, and Mississippi State, at that point, they're just playing to finish the season. They're playing for the last game. They're not playing for anything. So they're going to go out there and they have nothing to lose. And, that's a lot of times you play looser while that other team's playing a little tight, and maybe you jump on the board first. You get that energy. The other team gets a little more tight, and you never know what happens.
We've seen it a million times. We've seen it a million times in those rival games. It really is. And you, the one that can kind of do more damage and wreck, coffee table books being printed, a lot of times they win that game.
That's right. So that's going to just make next week even more exciting with all of those rivalry
But this week's exciting because this week is just old-fashioned spoiler roll.
Yeah, and we already had, and I mean, still could work out for them. But
all right, let's be honest.
Okay.
Florida, if they pull the upset, they get to laugh right in Ole Miss's face. Because Florida's, Florida was the biggest of the big for a long time. Under Spurrier and Meyer, that's what everybody was trying to get to. They were USC and Alabama before Pete Carroll and Nick Saban got both of those to those lofty levels. And Florida can really just kind of pat Ole Miss on the head and go, y'all really thought y'all were going to get in the big boys club?
They can. And they will.
Auburn can do that to A&M. I mean, you go now. The A&M team won't, but the A&M announcers can. You'll go through a room, go into the press box Saturday at Auburn, and you'll see those Heisman trophies. You'll feel the Cam Newton in their last national championship. A&M's never had anything like that. Auburn will get to laugh at A&M.
Yeah. Going to be a lot of places. It's two really good weekends to finish the college football season.
Oklahoma,
season.
They get to wreck Bama this week, spoil Bama. They'd love that.
Would love nothing more. I mean, as bad of a season as it would be, you would go away from it talking about, remember last year? Yeah, it was bad, but hey, you knocked out Alabama and their chances to make the playoff.
And every one of those places will be able to rightfully say, hey, have fun at the Poulan Bowl.
That's right.
You're out of the playoffs.
You brought up Texas A&M. You made me think about the Dat and Win days. Like, oh my God,
great player.
Oh yeah,
great story.
Yes,
great story.
Yeah. Well, we got to get to the top and not top story here in a second. But before we do that, for people who don't know, or maybe you do, you can watch us every single afternoon on Twitter, on Facebook. And if you're watching today, Brett has a little bit of a different background behind him.
How'd he do? He does.
Shoulder, he has a Christmas tree. On the other shoulder, Santa Claus. So,
how about that? I got Santa Clauses everywhere. See,
oh, wow. Oh, yeah. You got like 3 or 4 back there. Good Lord.
Then I popped back in the
array of Kris Kringles in the backdrop.
Kind of got dizzy doing that.
Well, you gotta do it slow. You can't do it so fast.
That's what I did all day Saturday and watching football.
I love it.
How many trees you got up, Brett? Total.
I have two little bitty tree, a little bigger tree, and then kind of a fig tree, artificial fig tree that I have year round that I have decorated at Christmas.
Oh, goodness. Unfortunately, the wife goes crazy. We have 6 total. Once it gets going. Yeah, she puts one in everybody's room.
Wow.
Then
That's
one
great.
in the den. So
I love that.
So everybody has their own tree.
That's
And
fantastic.
this is the earliest I've ever done it because this was my only shot. Next week,
Wow.
Gainesville. Following week, Egg Bowl. And,
Next thing you know, Christmas is here, Brett.
And I want it all up when I get home from Egg Bowl. No music yet though.
Okay.
I got to get through Egg before I
Okay.
can listen to the music.
That makes
No
sense.
Mariah? No Mariah
Not yet.
just yet.
Well, Brett, I'll tell you this. Once I get done here, I'm going to immediately to eat dinner. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to Chick-fil-A, a little free plug for Chick-fil-A. Peppermint chip milkshakes come out today. My
'Tis the season.
absolute favorite.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Just
I was going to
tastes
say
like
both of you
Christmas.
guys in the Christmas spirit
Oh,
with
I
the
love Christmas.
peppermint
Hey,
milkshake going on.
Brian, I bet you the Peach Bowl people will be in Gainesville. They usually, and I think I've handed some over to you.
You have.
And I think I'll get, and
right.
I'll share. I'll get complimentary milkshake coupons.
Absolutely. Darian, I have to tomorrow. I got a Christmas hat that I think both of you are going to love. I'll wear it tomorrow.
Come on, let's do it. I almost broke mine out. I got
Okay.
the sweater and the hat ready.
I have a hat.
I got it
It's
ready
just-
to go.
It's not like a Christmas, it's not like a Santa hat. It's like a hat like this, but it's
Okay,
Christmas themed. So I'll wear it tomorrow. Probably
I'm
just
getting
for
ready.
The show,
I'll do it
'cause
too.
Love Christmas.
Come on, let's do
it's
it.
a
I'll
little
do
too
it.
early to just wear it out and
I
about. but I'll wear it
I
tomorrow.
love every aspect. Of course, I know the reason for the season,
Absolutely.
and I do cherish that. I like the commercialization of it.
I do too.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with that, but I do love the Christmas spirit here early on a Monday afternoon. But let me set up today's show before we get to
I'm
top.
still kind of dizzy from
Well,
leading out of the
It
shot.
was really fast the way you did that. You got to be a little slow when you do
Gotta
that.
watch
You
it.
yeah, you get a little dizzy. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. We'll talk about senior night for those seniors for the Tigers, the win over UAB, and then we'll talk about this week, how they prepare for the game next Thursday against Tulane. 3:45, we'll talk about the Grizzlies and the weekend they had. Split a pair of games, lost Friday night against the Golden State Warriors, 123-118, that final score. And then last night, a win over the jokerless Nuggets, 105-90. They'll see that same Nuggets team. Unclear yet, Jokic's wife had a baby, so unclear yet if he'll play tomorrow night or not, but they'll see the Nuggets again tomorrow night as a
Didn't the
NBA Cup
Grizzlies
game.
get a win last year when
It was Luka.
Luka,
Luka's wife had a baby. That's correct.
thanks for the babies
I
out
mean,
there.
hey, you gotta love it and how they fall in the Grizzlies' favor. So we'll talk Grizzlies at the end of this hour. 4 o'clock, Michael Bratton, the host of That SEC podcast, will join us. We'll talk a lot of college football and the SEC with him. Go give Michael a follow at Michael W. Bratton on Twitter. I'm sure you've seen it. A lot of people, I remember when he visited with us, and I think I had a buddy who was like, I know this guy. I see his Twitter all over the place. I was like, yes, you do. Very active on social media. He's on, like Brett mentioned, a regular guest on the Paul Feinbaum Show. So we'll talk SEC with him at 4 o'clock. 4:30, it'll be time for the Sissy's Log Cabin. Look back at the weekend in the SEC. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. We'll talk about the weekend for the Grizzlies and what's coming up, how this team's looking, as they got a couple of their key players back from injury over the weekend, as Desmond Bain returned, as well as Brandon Clark and Vince Williams Jr. 5:30, we get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview for the Texans at the Cowboys tonight, and we'll get to a Big Four Cowboys all time for offense and defense.
I'm ready to go for that one.
Two
That's it.
different
No
lists.
Texans. Not old enough.
Offense and defense. I love it, and I wore my Cowboys hat even though it hadn't been their season. Got to support. I mean, still got to support them.
Interesting to see. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. Interesting to see how many different names.
Yeah.
Because we do kind of have. It's Darian like to say he's the bridge.
Bridge the gap.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. So we'll get into that at 5:30. Then 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over there for the Ultimate Game Room and Fall Sale. Complete the Ultimate Game Room with a new pool table, shuffleboard, even an arcade game. Help them clear out their overstock of theater seating. It's all priced to move. It's also perfect fire pit weather, and all fire pits at Family Leisure are 20 to 30% off. Don't forget about the spas, up to $1,500 off of their in-stock spas, and those are also ready to be delivered. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
Landon, Darian, Bryant, Brett, we're all here. We're with you till 6 o'clock on Sports Time, and we want you to be a part of it at 901-360-8255. That's Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. All our guests will appear on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. Always in our Family Leisure Studios, and always this first hour brought to you by the great people at Lexus of Memphis. Happy holiday season from everyone at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all the 2024 models that remain and the 2025s that have just about taken over, and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day has got to be the weekend for the Memphis Tigers. It started Friday night when the Tiger basketball team beat Ohio 94-70 to start the season 3-0. The Tigers shot 72.2% from three, and they now, get this, lead the country in three-point percentage. I think, a lot of the preseason talk and watching this team through two exhibitions was, this team can't really shoot, but they've shot the ball well, and it's been a big part, has been the second halves that they've had. These second halves where they got their 52 points the other night in the second half against Ohio. They flipped this switch in the second halves and really looked good. Now, they looked good the whole game, I thought, against Ohio.
But Ohio got it close at halftime.
They did, but it was outside of that little run they went on, it felt like it was all Tigers pretty much all night. I thought they looked good in a lot of different aspects, and now they're 3-0 to start the season. Shot 56.1% as a team from the field. PJ Haggerty and Tyrese Hunter, I mentioned it earlier, both of them were dealing with injuries last week, but both played really well. Haggerty finished with 23 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, while Hunter finished with 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, and both knocked down 4 3-pointers. So I thought a really solid game from this Tigers team, and you're continuing to see Penny Hardaway limiting that rotation and only going a couple deep on the bench. Moussa Cisse was really the only guy that got extended run Friday night for the Tigers off the bench, and I don't mind it. I think you have, especially those guards that can go and get you a bucket. Why not just keep them in there if they're able to go? Now, on the next night, the Tiger football team got a huge win over UAB. This was a game where it was a huge line, a big spread, and the Tigers went out there and took care of business. 53-18, 28 points in that fourth quarter to slam the door on UAB. Trent Dilfer, it feels like his days might be running out at UAB, and his team did not look very good at all in that game Saturday night. But the Tigers, in that final home game for that senior class, they walk off with a very convincing win.
And 4 AAC coaches already announced that won't be back for 2025, and it feels like Trent Dilfer could be next. I think that'd be the only other one, unless Charlotte did something.
So I was saying, I think we could see, up to 6, but I think probably no more than 6.
And John Summerall could leave for somewhere else.
Could.
Even talk at Kentucky of a buyout of Mark Stoops and John Summerall back to his dream job, his alma mater. Wow. Some talk of that. but we'll see. My top story all year I've said, well, not all year, but since about after September, if we got it, kind of the season was formed a little bit, I've said the SEC is really, really good, plenty good, but not vintage. We've all seen it in better years, and I stand by that. But that also, I think, applies to all of college football, even the three remaining undefeated teams, Oregon, Indiana, and Army. Anyone think Oregon's going 16-0? That's what they'd have to do. From 5 more. They're 11-0 now. They're going to win the next 5 games? I don't think so. So the rest of college football is like the SEC. It's really, really good. It's a lot of fun. I don't think it's vintage. There's no Big Red Nebraska and Tom Osborne sitting out there. There's no aforementioned Pete Carroll or Urban Meyer or Steve Spurrier teams. There's not a Gene Stallings Alabama team, much less a Nick Saban Alabama team. There's some good teams. Somebody's going to win it all. 2 teams are going to play for it all. But I think now you can make the case for about 20 could make the college football playoff, and about 7 or 8 could win it all. That's with 2 weeks left. We got 2 weeks left. That's it.
Time flies. We're almost done with the regular season.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, 2 Sundays and 2 great Sunday night football games. Go all the way back to last week when it was Lions and Texans on Sunday night. The Texans come out and they look great early. The Lions can't get anything going. You got a bunch of interceptions thrown, but then they come back and the Lions end up getting that win 26-23. Now fast forward to last night, Sunday night football between the Bengals and the Chargers. The Chargers came out, looked like they were going to run away with it at halftime. Felt like that game was easily theirs, but not so fast because the Bengals come out, score 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, and just like that, they're right back into it. They go down. They're able to tie the game in the fourth quarter, and the Chargers, they get the ball with a little bit of time left. They move the ball down the field, and then J.K. Dobbins runs it. It looked like one of those plays. Yeah, get a first down, pick up some yards, go down and bounce. He just took it to the end zone and scored.
Mike Tirico's call was great.
Oh, it was so good, and it was a great game. I mean, I think a lot of people I've heard today, reading, listening, watching, a lot of people, and I felt it last night watching that game, thought the Bengals were gonna win that game. Just the way that second half was playing out, the Chargers kept getting the ball in that fourth quarter, and couldn't get anything going, and you just felt like every single time the Bengals got the ball back, all right, this is the possession where they drive down the field and score, kick a field goal, score a touchdown, and in this game. But it was the Chargers who got it done, 34-27. Chargers now 7-3 this year, while the Bengals fall to 4-7. Also, got to mention while I'm talking NFL, Bills big win over the Chiefs. Josh Allen put the team on his back with the late touchdown in the fourth quarter. They get a 30-21 win, and the Chiefs no longer undefeated. No undefeated teams left in the NFL.
Breaking news: Jim Harbaugh can really coach.
Yeah, he can.
My not top story, all the 2-loss SEC teams trying to make their case to be in the playoffs. Tomorrow night's rankings mean a lot more than last week because, if Georgia's ahead of Ole Miss, I don't know if Ole Miss can do enough to even winning 2 games to get back over them, and vice versa if they both went 2-0 the rest of the way. In 2026, all these teams will be in, but for 24 and 25, just 12. When we go to 14 or 16 in 2026, they'll all be in. But just 7 at-larges, and we all knew the deal on opening day. We all knew there was going to be a spot for the group of 5 team. We all knew there were going to be the 4 conference champions, and then the rest were going to hash it out. Let's don't get to this point and act like all this is a surprise, and let's don't look for something to be mad at. I could point to every team and go, you can't lose that one. You can't lose that one. You got to beat that one. And regardless of how it turns out, we all knew it on day one, what it was going to look like.
We absolutely did. But that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to a break. And when we come back, talking some Tiger football with Jonah Dillon.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2